As you enter the cave, you can feel that the temperature in the air is far warmer than you'd expect. As you start looking around, you spot the skeleton's arms, but as you reach for them, you hear a deep growl that sounds almost infernal. Looking up, you lock eyes with a flaming dog-like creature. Hello, and welcome to Tuna's Tales. This week for Pondering Monsters, we'll be covering part 2 to last week's video, The Scholarly Skeleton. In that encounter, your party was given a quest to find a master potion crafter, and, upon reaching his rumored location at the top of a mountain, they found a skeleton wearing a headband of intellect and missing both of its arms. What took the arms? Hell Hounds took the arms. What can your party do about it, though? For that, you'll need to stick around as we try to stay cool while looking at this encounter. As our heroes eventually find a way to communicate with the armless skeleton, they're able to learn that he is indeed the master potion crafter they're looking for. He tells them, as best he can, that some wolf-like creatures came into his little camp and took his arms from him not more than a day ago. He'd gladly help them, but the party will need to get him his arms back first. He points out to the heroes the direction these creatures went after taking his arms, and conveys that he's worried that if they wait too long, his arms might get eaten before they get there. The sun is getting close to setting, and the adventurers don't have much daylight left. After making some quick preparations, the heroes set off. Their travel along the mountaintop is much less strenuous than their travel up, and they make good time. The tracks that they're following are fairly easy to spot as they look almost burned into the dirt, and after following these tracks for a short while, they reach a cave. Just as they enter to begin looking around, they are attacked by several medium-sized, flaming dog-like creatures. They fight them off as best they can without getting burned, and when the dust settles, the heroes spot the skeleton's arms partially buried in the dirt at the back of the cave. After retrieving the arms and heading back to the potion master, the heroes are able to more easily communicate with this merchant. After a short explanation of what they're looking for, he gets to brewing, and come morning, the adventurers are able to head back down the mountain with the potion they were sent to get.
So that's what took his arms.
Yeah, Hell Hounds. Should be a nice little challenge for your party.
I hope so. I do have some questions, though.
Well, let's hear them.
To start, where did these hellhounds come from?
That's a good question, actually. Hellhounds aren't normally something you'd find on top of a mountain, so them being here can definitely get your party asking some questions of their own.
Yeah, I don't think they can travel between planes without help.
Traditionally, they cannot. If you're looking for an answer to this, I suggest you think about it in terms of your own table. Coming up with an answer that fits your world can help you further a plot or send your party somewhere new.
What if it just doesn't fit with what I'm running?
Well, you can always use something like, this cave has an occasional portal to the Hell Realms, or they were brought by a devil to the material plane and got separated from their owner in some way. Now there's a devil that's looking for their lost pets. Otherwise, you can swap the Hellhounds out for something like a Winter Wolf at the same CR, or Dire Wolves, which are a lower CR.
So, regardless of what creature I want to use, why did they take the arms?
This one is simple. They were hungry and they found the skeleton. If we assume that Hellhounds are still somewhat similar to dogs, then a skeleton is a tasty treat for them.
I'll make a note not to pet any hellhounds I come across.
That's a good idea, Red. What do you have next for me?
Well, when it comes to these creatures, how many of them are there?
If you properly wore down your party on the way up the mountain from last week, then 2, maybe 3 of them would be a good number for a 5th level party. 2 makes for an easy encounter, while 3 turns into a hard encounter.
What if my party's well rested, though?
In that case, use 4 of them. That turns it into a deadly encounter by CR calculators, but if your party is stronger than average, didn't get worn down too much on the way up, or took a rest when they got to the top, then that may be what you need to do to challenge them. Personally, though, I'd aim to keep this encounter at the upper end of medium for my table, and 3 is just about right for that.
Tough, but not over the top. Seems reasonable.
My thoughts exactly. You want to challenge your party, but getting that right depends on their trip up the mountain, so don't be afraid to scale things back on the fly if needed.
I've got one more question here. What if my party doesn't want to fight these creatures?
Yeah, that may happen depending on your party or if you changed the Hellhounds to wolves. In that case, I'd say that the party could try to bargain with these creatures.
How?
If they can give them something better than a pair of skeleton arms, or distract them long enough to take the arms away, then I'd allow for that. I'd probably still require an animal handling check of some sort, though. Let your party get creative if they want to, and, as usual, just have fun with it.
Well, thanks for answering my questions, Tuna.
Well, thanks for asking, Red. You ready to move on?
Sure.
Picking up right after your party has climbed the mountain and found the Potion Master skeleton from the last video, they should be trying to talk with this fellow in some fashion. He could write down what he needs, but that's currently impossible without his arms. Once they've got communication figured out though, the skeleton can convey that his arms were stolen not too long ago, and that if he gets them back that he'll happily help the party by brewing the potion that they need. As you communicate with the skeleton to ask if he'd be able to help with your quest, he tells you that he'd love to, but that he needs his arms back first. He gives you a little info about what attacked him and gestures in the direction that they ran off towards, while also urging you to hurry before his arms are gone for good. The skeleton isn't quite sure what took his arms as it all happened so fast, but he knows that it was dog-like and didn't seem bothered by fire. Other than that, he can just gesture in the direction that the creatures ran off towards. Also, if your players start talking about taking a long rest, you can have the skeleton convey somehow that they should hurry before his arms get destroyed, since if that happens, he won't be able to help them. From here, your party can set off for the cave that the Hell Hounds have been staying in. There are tracks to follow. They almost look like they're burned into the ground or are made out of ash, but I'd say a low DC survival check would still be appropriate here, somewhere around an 11 or 12. If you want to throw some other challenges at your party while they follow the tracks, then this is a good time to do so, but shouldn't really be required. If you're really looking for a quick thing here, something like a troll or ettin attacking them, or more environmental hazards to navigate past can be a good addition. And after traveling for about an hour, they can reach the cave. As you all enter the cave, you quickly realize what took the skeleton's arms as you find yourself staring down several fiendish-looking hellhounds. As you start to react, one of them breathes a jet of fire at you all. Roll initiative. As they enter the cave, you can choose to either play it subtly with the hellhounds growling at the party to warn them, or you can come out of the gate swinging by having one of them use their fire breath on the party right before rolling initiative. The Hellhound's passive perception here is a 15, so any stealth rolls below that would alert them to the party. Otherwise, I'd say someone could sneak in and try to scope things out. If initiative gets kicked off, then the hounds will fight to the death as they are in their den. They also have pack tactics, so they'll pair up as best as possible and work together until they can't. Fun fact, they also have fire immunity, so don't worry about using their fire breath on each other. After combat ends, the party can look around for the arms. As the cave dust and ash settles, you all begin looking around and, after a quick search, find the skeleton's arms. They seem semi-active, like they're trying to crawl away, but they can't as they've been half buried in a pile of dirt. Now, I touched on making this a little bit of a timed encounter where the party needs to hurry in order to get the arms back safely. The idea behind doing it this way is to keep the party worn down so that the Hellhound combat is tougher for them. If they're really hurting though, then I'd allow their conversation with the skeleton to count as a short rest, but otherwise they should be urged to move on pretty quickly. If they insist on taking a long rest, however, then just remember the fact that the world shouldn't stop just because the party does. The hounds are hungry, and if the party waits too long, then they may find there are fewer arms than they were expecting. This can lead to a whole bunch of trouble, ranging from the skeleton doesn't get his arms back and now can't help the party until they find some other solution, all the way to now he only gets one arm back and is less keen to help the party without further compensation. I'll leave it to you to decide what would be appropriate in this case, but you should give that some consideration. Speaking of consideration, let's take some time to think about how we can scale this up for higher level parties. Jumping right into it, a 10th level party could probably handle more Hellhounds. 5 or 6 of them is a medium encounter, 7 is hard, and 8 is deadly, so pick accordingly for the general feel you're looking for with this. Just be wary of the action economy. Similar to what I said earlier, I'd probably try to aim for 5, maybe 6 for a 10th level party. For a 15th level party, your normal Hellhound just isn't going to cut it anymore unless you want to run at least 10 of them, so you'll need to tweak their stats to balance things out a little bit. More health and a higher AC seems like a must here, but you can also boost their 2-hit by a couple of points, no more than 2 I'd say, and make their fire breath recharge a little faster. Making all of those changes should make about 5 or 6 Hellhounds a decent challenge for a 15th level party. Other than messing with the creature stats, you can also wear your party down more by throwing harder stuff at them on their way to the cave. Wear them down even more, and you can use fewer creatures at the end. Speaking of end, you now have the full story of how a master potion crafter, who also happened to be a skeleton, got his arms stolen by Hellhounds and, with the party's help, hopefully got them all back. If you want this video and the last one written up in an adventure format, then you can find them over on my Patreon, linked in the description. You'll also be able to get the master potion crafter skeleton and his mountaintop shop, Bone Zone, for use in your games. Otherwise, if you like what I do here, then liking, subscribing, etc. is very helpful and appreciated. And if you have any thoughts on this encounter or suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. As usual, thanks for letting me talk at you all, and until next time, keep pondering.